Autonomy. Okay, border Reykjavik field. I'm on the wrong character. Take me to the border Reykjavik field. Oh no, I don't want to mine here, do I? Because I don't have a place I can compress. So we'll go to... Sanctuary appears to be gone, unfortunately. Nine days, I don't know if that does it. Yeah, apparently, I don't know. I thought I had a whole bunch of mining stuff out here. Is this right? What happened to that? It was in Nalbula, wasn't it? It was Nalbula, wasn't it? Yeah, I think it was. There's no longer any structure, huh? No. That makes this much harder. Alright, well, let's mine here. I don't really care. I have 2 glorification in this one for some reason. Oh, no, those aren't expensive, though. I'll go east on the road and then south over here. I'm gonna see if I can get my cat to come in for lunch. I'll be right back. Sissy, lunchtime. No, I know that sound. No, there's somebody here already. Need the 2 million that bad, huh? Oh my god. Well. Couldn't be there for 5 minutes. Some worthless loser showed up. Who was this? I'm gonna feed you, kitty, don't worry. Hi, kitty. I'm gonna feed you. Hold on. I gotta do something. sorry. Okay, we're gonna feed you now, kitty. Ready? It's lunchtime. Poor kitty. Okay. I'm sorry. Somebody attacked me. It was less than 5 minutes and some worthless shithead attacked me. No matter where I go, some worthless shithead from some different corporation attacked me. No matter where I go. The game's becoming unplayable. Yeah, we're gonna feed you lunch. You hungry, kitty? I think you are. Yeah, kitty, we're gonna feed you. We're gonna make treats. We're gonna do the whole shebang. I love you, kitty. I go to feed my cat and I fucking die. Stupid piece of shit, cocksucker, EVE Online cocksuckers. Feed you, don't you worry. I'm gonna go see my mom since the piece of shit loser crawled up my fucking ass with his worthless deadbeat life. Ready? There it is. Gotta go get my laundry, guys. I'll be back. Oops. guys, sorry. I brought my laundry back, but I've got one more thing I've got to do. Get off my computer now. Off my computer. Stay off my computer. Bad kitty. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I gotta go do something. I'll be right back. Charge my headphones while I'm going, I guess. There's not really much else I can do. I gotta go do something real quick. Spray bottle. I'm gonna start spraying you when you get on that fucking. Don't get on that computer. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. Gotta do some real life stuff, but I'm here now for a while. Oh, yeah, my headphones. Oops. Okay. I did. I moved all my stuff out now. Cool, I can just teleport back. Wow. Easy. That was 1,400 gil. That's what I bought. Oh god. No, I'll just cook my own food. Fuck that.
I like this game. It is funny in some ways. Such a weird game. Mega Elixir, that's worth it. Outside meat sandwich, nice. I'm a pitch a tent too. Oh my god. Oh, good. The global server's back up. Look at the size of it. So cool. Thought it was going to attack. Ooh, I knew it. Megalixu. Why is this an invisible wall? Wait, there is mining points intact over here. Did I miss it? But there was like something I missed, I guess. Let's see if she can fly the Pioneer. No, I don't have Mining Destroyer. I think I want to play this DRM free Final Fantasy 15 in the background to use it as like a music generator, essentially, with like a music and battle generator, Final Fantasy battle generator. I think I like it more than 12 because it's just got better graphics. It'll play. I mean, 12 is a controller game for the PlayStation 2. The Final Fantasy 15 is an actual keyboard mouse game. It can be played with keyboard mouse. It's too old. I think 12 is a superior game, but 12 is more boring. Let's take it to the quest location, yeah. Stop. I'll go play the DRM free version. It might actually have better performance too. I think it does. We'll go look. This installed version of Final Fantasy 15 is on my C drive, is it? I think I want to uninstall. I mean, I don't know. How big is it? It's like 115 gigs. I should not... where is this? This is on my D drive. I mean, it's not really taking up any space on my D drive, so I'll just leave it. Screw it. Seer. And you don't have Final Fantasy 15 for whatever reason. I would prefer to play it on this, but no. I'm sure 16 is good too, but I don't know. It's like, I'm gonna wait till it's like $10 because I don't know. I don't think so. All right, let's go look at a DRM free version of Final Fantasy 15, which I have. Or no, my F drive died. I might not. I may not actually have that. But I think I do. Ah, yes, I do. Yep, there it is, a DRM free version. We'll go show more options, properties. To show more options. I want you to select that. Show more options. Why do I have to show more options? It's so dumb. Create a shortcut. Oh, there already is one. Okay, well. Okay. Mining destroyer. I'll add it to my list and I will dump skill points into it. Oh, I have my daily login today. Oh. My main's on this one up here. I'll probably reach the big skill point bonuses, yeah. I'm gonna sell those immediately. Okay, I'm looking for mining destroyer. I don't know, in the skill catalog, we're looking for mining destroyer. Oh, I have to remove skills, huh? Move like 15 skills or whatever. It's 3 years worth of training, which is insane. I love that sound. Oops, you are also looking at skills, are you? Oh, no, you are. So, okay. Okay, run this. 125,000 skill points to get me through to, like, Mining Destroyer 4, hopefully. Nice, yeah, 3 to 5. Cool. And we will go out in Pioneers. Because they're fucking cheap. Gonna hand her some Pioneers. Yeah, I'm gonna hand her some Pioneers. Give her 10 of them. No, not 80. Cancel. I don't see my phone. I'll be right back. I don't see my phone. I must have put it down somewhere up there. Or, I must have left my phone up there somewhere. I go look for it. Be right back, guys. Gotta go find my phone. Charge my watch. Okay. Oh. Okay. Why do you always put the... Oh, no, no, no. That's the only one I've done, huh? You didn't run. It looks like you're trying to. Appears that this install is corrupted or some such, unfortunately. You won't run. This was running at one time. Don't know what the problem is. Probably some executable thing. That's unfortunate. Well, yeah, that particular version of it might be gone, unfortunately. It's an older game from a previous generation, too. Okay, there we go. Brokite or plagioclase?
As the men fought to hold her down, she struggled violently against her attackers. She was a slender but very fit woman and was specially trained to protect herself in case of this possibility. Ava fought without making a
Oh, I should make some lunch.
sound. A cry might have awakened the children and placed them in mortal
I'll be
danger.
right back.
Silently, she extended to her children their last measure of a mother's protection. She struggled furiously, bruising herself in her effort to escape. But it was no good. The attack was unrelenting, and she was no match for the men. Once they had her under control, there was no attempt to sexually assault her, nor was there a robbery of any kind. Everything of value in the house was left untouched. The men had come to take something else. At close range, a single shot from a .25 caliber handgun was fired into her back. She was carried or dragged herself to the top of the stairs. Then her killers fled as quietly as they had entered. After a few minutes, she was dead. Now, backing up to right before, essentially pre-coup d'etat, okay, of this company, right before, Joe and Mark left and then came back to, like, flip everything on its head. Joe and Mark had always behaved as if they knew best, but from what Sam had seen, they actually understood very little about U-Haul. Sam had listened to Mark's braggadocio when describing his business venture with someone else, Dennis Sabin, okay, his painting side gig, and he simply didn't believe the figures that Mark was claiming. These were difficult times for U-Haul, but Sam had great faith in his father's business judgment, his diversification of the portfolio, okay, expansion into jet skis, if you will. After all, Ellis had built the company from nothing, and despite occasional missteps, U-Haul had grown repeatedly. By 1980, U-Haul's annual sales were approximately $200 million a year. Period, right? Which, if you factor in the $600 million in debt, like maybe not like great either, but neither here nor there. What do I know? But more significant was the fact that Sam simply did not have the difficulty dealing with Ellis that Joe and Mark experienced. Sam and Ellis were buddies. Okay, he was the favorite son, buddy. Ellis was willing to listen to his input, though he often played devil's advocate. In the field, Sam watched his father run ideas by staff members at all levels, asking what they thought. Ellis was open to feedback and, even after he had launched a new program, was willing to make corrections, or in some cases make one of his fabled 180-degree turns. It might not look pretty to outsiders, and longtime employees found it disconcerting, but overall his father's management style was very effective. As exhilarating as Sam found running U-Haul, especially in the absence of Joe and Mark, his fucking least favorite brothers, the real joy in his life came from his relationship with Ava and the family they had begun. Ava gave birth to a daughter in 1980, a child they named Benti, which was Norwegian for blessing. And in 1982, the couple had a son named Esben, Norwegian for strength of a bear and protected by God. Ava was a considerable athlete who jogged regularly and took her dogs out protected by God. And in 1982, the couple had a son named Esben, Norwegian for strength of a bear and blessing. And in 1982, the couple had a son named Esben, Norwegian for strength of a bear and protected by God. Ava was a considerable athlete who jogged regularly and took her dogs out with her as well as to shows. She was an expert cross-country skier, and at least twice a year they took skiing trips. She was a strong, graceful, and very attractive woman and was intimidating to a lot of men, obsessed as a consequence, of course, right? When you're a woman who is well-rounded, has it all, you apparently are going to really be too intimidating for men to handle, which is such a blessing, goddamn. In town, they went to dinner with friends and even with Joe and Mark and their wives. The truth was, however, that Ava did not like Joe and Mark, whom she called, quote, gangsters or the goons. As a European, she tended initially to be more formal and reserved in her personal relations, and their behavior offended her. Though she was friendly with all of her husband's family and socialized with the son's wives, she did not involve herself in family affairs or allow herself to be drawn into close friendships. Great judge of character, if you ask me. Great way to go about life. Arm's length sometimes with some people, right? There was an air of aristocracy about her, the sense that she had married the heir to the U-Haul empire. Her behavior toward Ellis was perhaps the most startling initially. Ellis was a very wealthy, powerful, and domineering man who usually insisted on having his way in business and his private life. The reality was that in much of his life, those around him fawned on him or fussed over him. Ava would have none of that. When Ellis attempted talking business over dinner, she told him firmly this was a family affair and business was out of place. Okay, so Ava was very clearly, a bit of the oddball in the group. The one stirring the pot, if you will, the one disrupting. Okay, we love a disruptor. At first, Ellis was shocked by his assertive daughter-in-law and uncertain what to make of it. Ava could see the reaction her forthrightness had and asked Sam privately if she should continue. Sam assured her that his father preferred straight talk and that he, Sam, loved her for daring to engage in it. He was right. Ellis soon came to appreciate Ava's direct manner and had to concede she had a point. He did mix business and family too often. Snaps. Can, get the hint, okay? She was trying to tell you, for real. Ava's disregard for Joe was keenly returned. He fucking hated her too. Behind her back, but in her presence, Joe called the elegant and graceful Ava, quote, horsey, the moose, that telephone pole, or with a snicker, the big Swede. It's giving slur. Okay? It's giving deserves to be talking sternly to. Joe was not alone. Paul appeared to hold a similar hostile attitude toward his brother's wife. Sam commented once that there was something he needed to do, and Paul responded with a sneer, quote, you have your tall, blonde Norwegian to do that for you, end quote. Ugh. Ugh.
Yeah.
See, I know that this book is skewed, for sure skewed, you know what I mean? Definitely skewed, but I'm on their side. I'm Team Sam right now. I am Team Sam. I am that camp, presently. The closeness of Sam and Ava and the love between them were so apparent, people commented on it routinely. Ava possessed a spontaneous, deft sense of humor that filled the outgoing Sam with roaring laughter. Whenever he was in her presence, she was the focus of his attention, and when she spoke, he clung to every word. By comparison, Joe and his wife Heidi were not doing well. Oh, it's giving jealous. It's giving you want what your brother has. Okay, word. While Heidi spoke with pride of her husband, he had after all gone on to obtain his law degree and insisted at family gatherings that Joe was every bit the businessman that his father was, the intention between the couple was clear to see. To some of those who knew both couples, it was obvious that Heidi was jealous of Ava, especially of her relationship with Sam. Their house was divided into Joe's space and Heidi's space. Heidi's area was immaculate, so formal and stiff that any thought of spontaneity was crushed. Joe's area was as it had been when he was a bachelor, with biker paraphernalia scattered everywhere, leather and chains, gross drawings of scraggly men and buxom women on chopped motorcycles, and a t-shirt with a German iron cross, skull and crossbones, and the words, love is hate, hate is love. Joe placated Heidi by buying her what she wanted from time to time. One day when Ellis was visiting, Heidi gave him a tour of the small house, pointing out each of the acquisitions she believed were intended to keep her satisfied by saying, quote, there is a bribe from Joe, then pointing to another with the same words. By 1987, the family drama was being stirred at a boiling rapid pace, okay? Essentially, Ellis and Joe and Mark and Sam and crew, because before cell phones, before email, but not before telephones. I guess they just didn't really want to hear each other's voices. They would write each other's letters, okay? Extensive letters. Yelling letters. Cussing out fuck you letters, okay? Go fuck yourself. You're not taking my money type letters, all right? Between each other, among each other, and they kept them all. Of course they kept them all, okay? In 1987, Ellis's frustration was only growing. He sent one letter to Joe with copies to all the other children that said, quote, Joe, this letter is not an attack on you. Your behavior is destructive, not constructive. Your problem is fear. This was probably engendered by the loss of your mother when you were still a child. This fear has made and makes you very insecure. Your security became U-Haul. Your fear manifests itself in anger and attacks upon whoever you believe is threatening U-Haul. For 15 pages, Ellis, Joe's father, offered his version of Joe's life history. Mark shares many, quote, Mark shares many of your behavior patterns. Like, you guys, this is obscene. Imagine your dad, okay, let me just like preface this. Imagine you have 12 siblings, okay? 11 siblings. You're the 12th, okay? You have 11 siblings. Your dad
Sausage and
writes
Diet
this
Pepsi.
scathing letter to you, basically trying to unpack why the fuck everything wrong with you, unpack why everything is wrong with you. Just like
It
shitting
sounds
on
astute,
you in
like
the
he
way
might
that
be
parents
right.
do right inaccurately all the fucking time, just have you fuming. Okay, but instead of just sending this letter to you, he sends a copy to all of your siblings. This letter about you. Okay? I know I already said that, but just like to lean into it more, okay? This family was diabolical on every side of the fucking fence, okay? I can also understand why he's fucked up, okay? Fuck. Quote, from his dad, quote, Mark shares many of your behavior patterns. Mark, his brother, okay? Joe and Mark in their camp, okay? Sam and Ellis in another. You learned to do this as children. This aggression is probably in your genes as well as your experience after your mother's death. Like, keep bringing that up. Obsessed with that. You and Mark talk and behave as if this organization was your personal kingdom and that you can do with its people and property as you damn well please. You even try to make me and others think that Ellis's, mine is incapable of functioning properly. Because at this point, Joe and Mark were stirring the pot, planting seeds of rumors, but not really rumors, just like blatantly saying it, that their father was mentally ill. They were like, he's mentally ill, he's insane, he's senile, he's losing his mind. Like, that's why he's saying all this shit, okay? His dad says, you even try to make me and others think that my mind is incapable of functioning properly, that I should not work. You have secretly told outright lies about me. Ellis asked for Joe's resignation from the board. He reminded Joe that he had promised to support Sam. Instead, he had worked against him. Quote, you did this in a devious and manipulative way. No large and complex organization can long endure under the environment that you create. Your lust for power and greed blind you. As I told you, I will not and cannot rest until you are out of power in this organization. Deceit is a part of your everyday life. You are a con man. I am ashamed as to the part I played at the shareholders meeting last year. I feel like my nose is a foot long. To his other children, in this letter to Joe that he just, sent a copy to everyone about, he basically in the letter was like, okay, now to the other kids, even though Joe's gonna read every word. Ellis, the dad, the patriarch, says, quote, it is difficult for me to believe that you can trust Joe as opposed to me. Because remember, all of the other 11 kids all have a stake in this company. Like, they're all doing the dirty, okay? They all got a piece of the pie, okay?
Low
The
down to
multi-billion
uptown.
dollar
or
pie,
whatever.
okay?
They're
So
the
their
uptown,
vote
low
matters,
down.
their positions matter, their executive, like, you get it. Okay, he says, it is difficult for me to believe that you can trust Joe as opposed to me. Think carefully. There has been and will be no peace otherwise. Not for me, nor for you. You can take that to the bank. End quote. July 7th, 1987, Joe called his father and renewed his accusation that Ellis had turned him into the IRS. He claimed further that Ellis had broken into his office. Quote, it was a mistake. You got it? Joe said threateningly. Well, Joe, Ellis began, but before he could finish, Joe shouted into the telephone. Quote, you fucked yourself. You just did it, asshole. You just admitted it. Admitted what? That you hired people on me and I knew you had been. You dirty cocksucker.
Mhm.
Ellis, yes, I have. You fucked yourself. Joe said, fuck yourself. You got it straight. Can I help you with it? You fuck yourself. I ain't your kid. You fuck yourself. You hire people on me. You fuck yourself. Joe hung up. Right. July 14th of 1987, Sam was at the headquarters stuffing envelopes when Joe and Mark entered the office and closed the door behind them. They launched into
They should all be on cocaine in the 80s, but I think they're actually on money. And they have endless money. Like U-Haul fortune money, just endless run out, never runs out money. And I think that's what they're actually on. I don't think any of them do cocaine. They should have been. They might have had better lives. The money ruined them.
to a verbal attack against Sam that grew into hostility. Finally, Sam asked Mark if what he wanted was a fight, to which Mark replied, okay. Sam stood up and said, then let's get it on. They started fist fighting. I'm not laughing. It's not funny, but very quickly after the fist fight started, Sam had the upper hand. Then Joe jumped Sam from behind, wrestled him to the floor, and held him down as Mark kicked him in the head. John Dodds, an employee, heard the commotion and broke it up. Employees watched as he shoveled Sam with a bloody torn shirt leave the building. Joe's and Mark's version was, of course, different than Sam's, and they were very concerned about how the assault would be interpreted. As part of damage control, Mark wrote his brother, quote, "Dear Sam, your letter to Joe describing our little disagreement Tuesday, 14th of July, is certainly amusing. In fact, had I not been in the room at the time, I might even believe you. I'm sure your letter is intended for general distribution prior to the shareholders meeting. For this reason, I will attempt to jog your memory so that at least you know that you were lying. You, Sam, are a premeditating, sucker-punching, ball-busting, eye-gouging asshole. You do tell a good story and no doubt are proud of it. Let me be real clear. The next time you sucker-punch me, at least do the job right. Hit me with the first punch or don't start the fight. Anyway, Sam, like I say, you are spun a pretty good yarn. Every liar does. With all my love and respect, Mark. P.S. Be sure to circulate this letter to the others." He ate that. I'm sorry, Mark kind of ate that shit up. Ooh. He kind of, ooh. P.S. Be sure to circulate this letter with the others. I'm dead. I'm dead. That kind of ate down. I don't know. I mean, I know I'm like on like the kind of Sam and Ellis camp right now, but like with that letter alone, I'm moving in the middle. And mind you, my voting is based entirely off of vibe and not on fact. So don't think I'm actually, I don't, look, who fucking knows the truth? Like when it comes to Family Feuds, everyone's fucking lying, by the way. Everyone fucking lies their asses off. But that letter kind of ate down, okay? Ellis had observed Joe in action for years and believed that when Joe accused someone of doing something, it was because Joe was threatening to do it or thinking of it. Joe had accused Sam of enriching himself with sweetheart deals when Ellis believed it had been Joe who was doing that, as was the case of Form Builders. He said Sam hated him when it was Joe who hated Sam. Joe had accused Sam of tax irregularities in his family estate, and Ellis believed if there were any irregularities, they would be discovered in Joe's estate finances. And Joe falsely claimed the outside group intended to dismantle and destroy U-Haul when it was he who was dismantling it and who, in Ellis's opinion, would destroy the company if he remained in charge. Okay? We get it. We got it. We're following. All this talk of guns and shooting, taken in that context, was very disturbing. Apparently, Joe had mentioned it a lot. There had been a troubling moment of sobering insight during Ellis's private meeting with his psychologist. The psychologist was advising Ellis on what he should and should not do about Joe and Mark. The psychologist had told Ellis to understand that he could not satiate Joe's and Mark's hunger for power. I can't speak. Hunger for power. Okay, hunger. No. Hunger. Quote, "They are like a wounded animal in the corner, who tended to not to care when they were engaged in a struggle, and they can easily turn to revenge. Then,
Oh no,
as
I
a
can
word
only
of caution,
put
the
out 4.
psychologist told Ellis, quote, when they are very seriously defeated, they will get a gun." End quote. Foreshadowing. Back to Sam and Ava. For some time, Sam and Ava had complained of the summer heat in Phoenix, where obviously U-Haul's headquarters were and still are, a phenomenon known as desert fatigue. They had skied in many locations over the years and decided to look for a residence away from
Colorado.
Phoenix that offered skiing in the winter and a vigorous outdoor life.
Colorado, Denver.
They selected Telluride, Colorado,
Told
and
you.
bought a spacious, comfortable log cabin in an exclusive estate just outside the small town.
It was only $12 million.
Escape, frankly, not just that summer's heat, but the family feud as well. The fact that Joe had told Mary Anna he planned to start carrying a gun still weighed heavily on Sam's mind. Mary Anna, okay, as you may recall, you're like, what, the wife of Ellis who's passed? Yes. Obviously, they had a daughter, and they named her Mary Anna, okay? Younger daughter, one of the younger sisters, all right? And Joe had told Mary Anna that he was carrying a gun, and then Mary Anna told Sam, okay, because as sisters, like, we play both sides. Okay, we play both sides. And Sam got a little stressed, getting a little stressed, okay? A little stress-a-rude about that, okay? A disturbing incident at about this time also motivated Sam to move. It was Ava and Sam's practice in their Paradise Valley home not to pull the drapes at night since the house was set off on a secluded lot. One evening, Sam was napping upstairs when a stranger simply walked into the house. Quote, "Do what I tell you," he said, "and no one will get hurt." Ava responded coolly by calling out for her husband, quote, "Sam, there's someone here, get the gun." In fact, they had no gun. But hearing his wife, Sam knew there was trouble, and he bolted from the bedroom in his skivvies, without glasses, which meant he was virtually blind, same, and charged, stumbling down the stairs, shouting, quote, "I'm coming, I've got the gun, I'll shoot the son of a bitch," end quote. They really knew their knew their characters and knew, right? They knew. He knew immediately what to say. If I had screamed, like, get the gun to any one of my family, okay, if they were here or not, there's no way that they would immediately fall into position, right? Get down the 8 count. They would say, they'd be like, what? We don't have one. What's wrong? What's going on? Like, they would fuck up the whole routine. We'd be fucked. So I commend Sam for saying that, if that did indeed happen. Good for him. He got it together. The stranger was so frightened he bolted out of the house straight through the front window, but the episode caused Sam concern about the safety of big city life. The pristine beauty and quiet congeniality of Telluride was a strong magnet, and among the reasons he and Ava selected it as their retreat. Not long after the intruder incident, Ava participated in self-defense training sponsored by the Young President's Organization, in which Sam was a prominent member. Ava made a point to tell her women-in-laws that she had learned self-defense and urged them to be trained in it as well. By the summer of 1990, Sam and Ava were well settled into their lives of quiet domesticity in Telluride. In Phoenix, Sam was subjected to constant abuse, but here in the Colorado mountains, they had found a sanctuary. Ava's parents were aging, and Sam agreed to an extended vacation in Norway. Before leaving, he rewrote his will. His shares in U-Haul were held in a trust. Under the old will, in the event of his death, control of those shares were to pass to the head of U-Haul's in-house insurance company, a man whom Sam had once trusted but who was now one of the Golden Five on Joe's team and would be expected to vote the shares with Joe. He changed the provision so that Ava could vote his stock should he die. For a moment, he considered making this change in his circumstances known to U-Haul, but he was so angry with what was going on that he decided against it. For him, it was a private decision. So no one knew that, okay? Everyone at U-Halsey, all the siblings, all the sibs and shit, thought that, yes, indeed, if Sam was passed, if Sam was not of this world, that his
Set an
shares in the
alert
company
for
would go to
4 o'clock
the in-house
for
counsel, insurance counsel, and that and
cargo
he was
container
presently on Joe's team. Okay, great, awesome. Glad
Thank
we
you.
are caught up with
Good.
that important factor. Now, the night, I should say, that Ava was murdered, Sam was expected to be there. Okay, he was not due in Phoenix until the next day, but he had unexpectedly decided to drive to Phoenix a few days before to prepare for a presentation that he was giving, okay? Who would have thunk? So, as we've already recounted, Ava is murdered with a shot to the back, and her children find her in the morning. They call the police, and the investigation begins. Ava was murdered in 1990, okay? After her murder, Leonard, okay, Ellis Schoen, and his son, Sam, and some of their other family members who were in their camp, right, in the 2 teams on their team, the red team, the blue team, they basically put out a reward, a $250,000 reward for anyone with information leading to the arrest of someone, a suspect, in the murder, involved in the murder of Ava Schoen. And they also kind of went on a bit of a media campaign, okay? They were fed the fuck up. They threw down the towel and said, you know what? Fuck Joe and Mark. We think they had something to do with this. Let's start brawling via verbiage in the public, okay? Which can get y'all into trouble sometimes. They ended up convincing Unsolved Mysteries, like an Unsolved Mysteries type show. I think it was kind of like a spin-off situation, okay? To do an episode on Ava and her murder. And in the episode, they did some interviews in which it was very much heavily implied by Ellis and Sam, if not directly stated, that they thought that Joe and Mark had something to do with this, that they hired a contract killer, that's how it went down, okay? Also, a book started being in process, okay? Around this time. All right, pretty much immediately after Ava was murdered, an investigative journalist named Ronald Watkins, okay, investigative author of books on topical and controversial subjects. He was like, let me test the waters, let me test the air. It's time for me to do an expose. And he reached out, okay? He reached out to Leonard to Ellis and to his son Sam and said, hey, do you want to get in on this? I also kind of think that Joe and Mark did it. And they were like, yes, if we have some royalties, we'll give you some hard dirt, some very detailed letters, some correspondence, basically every nitty gritty dramatic detail about the family, okay? The dirty laundry, if you will, from the last, 30, 40 years, we're going to give to you for a little bit of royalties and a little bit of shit talk about Joe and Mark. Amazing. Perfect.
Take my dishes away. I'll be right back.
Yeah, so that book starts coming along, okay, has not been published yet, all right, but obviously, Joe and Mark find out about it, okay, pretty rapidly. I can only imagine that this investigative author is reaching out to some peeps who are in the camp of Joe and Mark, okay, the Jark. And so they're pissed, all right, they're pissed. There's several lawsuits ongoing related to the U-Haul Americo, 8,000 shares scheme-a-ream, and other shit, okay, going on between and among everyone. Ellis also filed a lawsuit regarding his pension being canceled, his employment contract being canceled by Joe and Mark, even though he was entitled to it for life. They canceled it because it just says a fuck you, essentially. You know the vibes, you know the bullshit. So another lawsuit hits the docket, all right, and it's called, you guessed it, Schoen versus Schoen. And the case that I'm going to read from is the appeal that took place in that case. So this case is Schoen versus Schoen, an opinion coming out of the Ninth Circuit, September 27th, 1993. Okay, so essentially something happened in the lower case at the lower level in the federal district court, and Ronald J. Watkins, the investigative author, appealed, and it went up to the Ninth Circuit. Okay, so let's see what the hullabaloo was about. This appeal presents the question on whether an investigative author at work on a forthcoming book may be compelled to testify and produce notes and tape recordings of interviews he conducted with a source who happens to be a defendant in a defamation action. You can guess what's going on here, okay? The defamation action was obviously Joe and Mark against their dad and Ellis, and yeah, all right, primarily against them, not against the investigative author, but against primarily Ellis and Sam, because they were the ones who made statements on this show, and presumably we're going to be making these statements again in the forthcoming book, okay, because they had not been published yet. So they weren't suing Ronald Watkins for defamation for statements he hasn't made yet. You can't do that. You can't do a presumptive defamation situation, okay? It has to be that the defamatory statements were actually made and made to a third party, okay? The third party published, meaning like made to a third party out there in the world, and to anyone other than just like talking to yourself. You know what I mean? You can shit talk anyone to yourself, 150%. Just make sure you're not recorded or sending a voice memo to others. Anyhow, there's your legal advice for the day. So this is what the court said, okay? Appellant Ronald Watkins is an investigative author of books on topical and controversial subjects. He became involved in this defamation action because of his work on a forthcoming nonfiction book about a long and bitter family feud over control of the highly successful U-Haul company. A feud pitting the patriarch of the family and founder of U-Haul, Ellis Schoen, against two of his sons, Mark and Joe Schoen. In the midst of these family quarrels, Ava Berg Schoen, the wife of Leonard's eldest son, Sam, was found brutally murdered in her family's log cabin in Telluride, Colorado. The murder remains unsolved as of September 27, 1993. We'll get into it. Following Ava's murder, Watkins, the author of two previous investigative books on issues of current interest, secured a contract with a major publisher to write a book about the Schoen family, its battles over control of U-Haul, and the murder of Ava Schoen. The book, entitled Birthright, is slated for publication in late 1993. Leonard agreed. Ellis Schoen. God, now they're saying Leonard. It's like, pick a card. You know what I mean? Pick a fucking card. It's either L.S. or Leonard. Oh my God. Ellis Schoen agreed to cooperate with Watkins by providing source material for the book in exchange for a share of future royalties. Watkins then conducted a number of research interviews with Ellis, some of which were tape recorded by Watkins. Ellis's cooperation as a source for Watkins's book was not kept secret, nor does it appear that Ellis had any expectation that the information he provided Watkins would remain confidential. Meanwhile, Mark and Joe Schoen, the two sons at war with Ellis over U-Haul, brought this defamation action against their father, alleging that he made public statements linking them to the murder of their sister-in-law, Ava. Among the statements Joe and Mark alleged to be defamatory are the following examples. Number 1. In a telephone interview from his home in Las Vegas, Ellis Schoen said he believes his two sons are mentally ill and that he suspects they are indirectly connected to the killing of Ava. This was published by the Associated Press wire service on or after August 23, 1990. Number 2, quote, the murder of Ava Schoen was an assassination. Leonard Schoen, Ellis Schoen, suggested to authorities that the killing might be related to a long-running family feud over control of the company, which has close to $1 billion in annual sales, end quote. This quote was published in the Los Angeles Times on September 4th, 1990. Number 3, Ellis Schoen said, quote, I don't know this for a fact, but I am convinced that these sons, either one or both of them, directly or indirectly are responsible for this. My son Sam was to be hit. He was to be removed from the picture, and I think these two young men, my young sons, either programmed other people to believe this or else had done it themselves, end quote. This was published on the television program Hard Copy on October 2nd, 1990. Number
I remember
4,
Hard Copy.
the questioner says, quote, do you think that your sons truly could have hired someone to kill their brother and thus his wife? Ellis Schoen says, quote, yes, I do. I believe that they could have by hiring the killer themselves or by indirectly creating an environment where someone around them would think that the thing to do is to get rid of Sam for them and they will do him a big favor, end quote. That was published by KTVK-TV on November 2nd, 1990. Number 5, quote, Ellis Schoen has continued to push 2 theories of the crime. One that suggests Joe or Mark hired the killers, and one which someone allied with their brothers and U-Haul management decided to eliminate Sam. Either way, he says, I believe one or both of these sons are indirectly responsible for Ava's death, end quote. That was published in the Los Angeles Times on February 17th, 1991. So y'all are gathering, right? We have some statements. We have some defamatory statements, okay? Now, to back it up and understand defamation, okay, what that is, obviously, if you can imagine, not every shit talk that you say about someone is necessarily defamation, okay? A defamatory statement does have a definition, and it very much does have to meet a standard of proof, and then sometimes a higher standard of proof if you are a public figure, which I will get into, okay? As an aside, I did a very complicated, not really complicated, but high stakes, highly competitive moot court competition in Chicago when I was in law school, my third year of law school. And the issue was a defamation issue with a limited purpose public figure. And you basically just have to become a niche, or I guess you have to become an expert on a very niche area of law very quickly. And so I just happened to be a mild expert on a very niche area of law, and that is public figures and defamation, which is like, you know, you would think doesn't come up that much. It kind of has lately. But, right, defamation is state by state. Depends on the state that you are in. What law will, what type of defamation law will apply. But it's pretty much the same everywhere, with just like a little tiny differences. Under Arizona law, in order to recover damages from defamation, you have to prove that 1, the individual made a false statement concerning you. Okay, it has to be false. And you have to prove that it's false, all right? This seems simpler than it is. Sometimes it's not, okay? You have to prove that it's false by preponderance of the evidence, okay? Second, you have to prove that this statement was defamatory. The word defamatory means that not just that it's false, but that it tends to harm someone's reputation, okay? Sometimes saying false shit that might be hurtful to you, okay? You might think is like, oh, that's so fucked up. Like, just because someone says that they think you drive a Honda, okay? Or like, oh, they drive a Honda, like implying that you're broke, whatever. And you're like, I drive a Beamer, that's so fucked up. Like, that's not necessarily defamatory because it's not really going to tend to harm your reputation in like a substantial degree, okay? In like a way that would be harmful to a reasonable person would be harmful. Like under our society standards would actually be harmful to your reputation in like a very personal or public professional way, okay? For example, there's like a legitimate like list of things that are like per se defamatory. One of them being like you have a very you have a venereal disease. Like saying that someone has a venereal disease is like, we've just said, yeah, that's defamatory. Like we're not even gonna get into it. That's defamatory. Saying someone has committed like certain very horrible crimes, that's defamatory per se. Saying that someone it's typically anything to do with like someone's sexual like really bizarre like things that they've
Orientation.
engaged in sexually, like that is seen as right. Like you're understanding, you're getting it. Oh, also saying someone is not good at their job in the sense that like it would be extremely harmful. So like if someone lied and said that a doctor committed malpractice, but it was like widespread and like things kind of like that, and it would like harm their professional rep, okay, can be defamatory. I'm not saying that my example was perfect always, but you're understanding, right, that defamatory is kind of a higher standard than just lies, okay? So you have to show that it was a false statement concerning you, that it was defamatory, that it was published, okay, to a third party. Published doesn't just mean like literally like written on a piece of paper. It means basically like transmitted to anyone else, okay, to a third party. It could be one person, it could be 20 people. It doesn't matter, to a third party, okay? Anyone other than the two people who are involved, okay? The speaker and the person who's being defamed, right? Then you have to show that you were actually damaged by that publication, okay? You can't just be like, it hurt my feels. Like, yes, that could potentially be like an emotional distress incident situation, but like you have to show that you were damaged, okay? Those are the elements for if it's a private person. A private person meaning someone who's not a public figure, all right? So like most people listening to this, okay, I'm not gonna like speak on who listens to this podcast. Love you so much, but like you're probably a private person, okay? You're probably going to be considered a private person for purposes of a defamation action, okay? So, broad strokes wise, you could potentially become a public figure, all right, if you, for example, thrust yourself. I know that's like an awkward word to use, but that's like quite literally the word that I had to repeat 80 million times in this fucking competition, okay? To talk about defamation and limited purpose public figures and general purpose public figures. Limited purpose public figures, okay, are those who have voluntarily thrust themselves into a public controversy for purposes of comment on that controversy or engagement, participation, whatever, okay, involvement. And they have thus subjected themselves to potentially, public statements or published statements about them with respect to that controversy, okay? So a general purpose public figure, if you can imagine, right, is someone who's a public figure for pretty much all fucking purposes. An example of this would be the president, okay? An example of this would be many celebrities that you know, okay? Even though, yes, they may be movie stars, they have subjected themselves to being a public figure. Their job is being a public figure. They're a public figure. So it is much harder to prove defamation or to win on a defamation claim and get damages, because once you become a public figure, okay, you have to show actual malice. In addition to all of those elements, there's an extra element added on which says that you have to prove that the defamatory statements were made by the people, okay, published to others, with reckless disregard for the truth, with knowledge of its falsity, malice in the sense that they knew shit wasn't kosher and they did it anyway because they wanted to hurt you. That's like the bare bones way to explain it. If you're a lawyer or a law student, you're like, oh, that's not exactly, guy, can you just fuck off? Thank you. That is the standard that you have to prove when you are a public figure or determined to be a legally defined public figure for purposes of a defamation action and want to prevail on a defamation claim, okay, against someone. So an example, all right, an example of what comes up a lot now with social media and with TikTok and everything that is interesting and that has really changed the landscape of a lot of defamation issues and defamation law and cases, which are still ongoing and developing, is that you know, back in the 90s, okay, and before that, it was pretty easy to distinguish between a public figure and someone who isn't, right? Just because someone, you know, is popular in the town doesn't necessarily mean that they're a public figure. Okay, public figures like big, right? It was kind of like, oh, a very public figures were seen as like, oh, celebrities, politicians, da, da, da. Okay, people like that, movie stars. Okay, limited purpose public figures though were more so defined as like, oh, someone who's like maybe on the board of like a local community college. So they are a limited purpose public figure for purposes of their role in that in their community college things. Okay, but if someone's just saying random things about them, about their personal life, about things like that, as opposed to like maybe their ability to do their job on the board, like that those statements that involve stuff that's completely irrelevant from their limited purpose public figure life, those might be private citizen, okay, standard type defamation claims. But
the shadow
for
looks so
purposes
good.
of their role on the board, statements relating to that, probably going to have to prove actual malice because they're a limited purpose public figure. Okay, do you understand why it's like a very fact sensitive, like the court has to figure out, okay, which one is it, right? Now enter social media, okay? Enter TikTok, Instagram. When someone has 1 million followers on Instagram, on TikTok, and they post about their life, are statements made by a news article, publication, speculating, making statements that are lies, that tend to be defamatory about their private life, are those subject to that higher actual malice standard? Because they have voluntarily thrust their personal life into the public sphere, okay? And they've even more so made their public life, or I mean made their personal life a controversy, a public controversy. Question mark. It depends, right? It would depend. It's very fact sensitive. It would depend. But like, it gets dicey. You know, I think that case by case is obviously, I mean, it's not even just I think it's like the way the law is applied. It's very case by case. You cannot create a broad strokes rule that can apply to everyone and every defamation action ever and every statement ever made against any person who has any level of social media literacy and presence. But you can understand why this is sketch, okay? And it's like sketch, meaning like this has become something that the law is trying to fucking figure out and untangle, because it would very much seem like limited purpose public figure would apply to a lot more people than what was maybe intended when we created that middle ground between general P and P. General P and priv. General P and priv, okay? That makes sense? Cool. We are in the 90s though, okay, as I stated, as I said. So these issues aren't really happening. They're not really risen yet. They have not risen, like Jesus on a Sunday on Easter. They are still brewing. They're still pending. We have not had the internet age. Boom shakalaka. The ticker talker has not entered our feed. So yeah, it's pretty easy to figure out who's a limited purpose P and who's a general purpose P and who's a private P. Private C. Private citizen. There's your defamation rundown. You're welcome. Or not, if you're going to bitch and moan and complain. I don't really care. Just remember all the statements that Ellis made that they're basically alleging, okay, are the defamatory statements forming the basis for their complaint, okay? Because in a defamation case, you do have to fucking say the statement. You can't just be like, I promise, pinky swear, it was just really me. And like, no, you have to say the statement. Notice that all of those statements that Ellis made are all ones that weren't made to this author, right? They were, because obviously the book hasn't been published yet, okay? That shit has not been published, okay? These are all statements made to reporters and newspaper articles that basically form the basis for their claims. Mark and Joe do not claim that their father made any of his allegedly defamatory statements to Watkins. However, as part of their pretrial discovery, plaintiffs served Watkins with a subpoena ordering him to appear at a deposition, testify, and produce any notes, documents, electronic recordings, or any other records in his possession, quote, relating to the death of Ava Bergshon, end quote. After failing to obtain a protective order under Arizona's statutory press shield law, Watkins appeared at the scheduled deposition but refused to produce any documents or recordings or to answer any questions concerning the substance of his interviews with Leonard Schoen. When plaintiffs filed a motion to compel production of documents and testimony, Watkins responded with a motion to quash on the ground that compulsory disclosure of his interviews with Ellis Schoen, would violate his qualified First Amendment privilege as a journalist. Dicey stuff. The district court, so the lower court, denied Watkins' motion to quash and granted the plaintiff's motion to compel, ruling that Watkins, as an investigative author, had standing to invoke the journalist's privilege, but that in the particular circumstances of this case, the qualified privilege must yield to the plaintiff's litigation needs, whatever that means. The court ordered Watkins to testify about all of the, quote, communications by Ellis Schoen to Mr. Watkins and to produce such materials as may memorialize those communications, end quote. The scope of this court's order, of the district court's order, later became a matter of dispute. In a telephone conference, the court stated that the plaintiffs were entitled to, quote, each and every method, mode, scrap of paper, computer disk, note, recollection, shred of evidence that would evidence Ellis Schoen's communications to Watkins on matters concerning the murder, the family feud, and any statements made as to the plaintiffs, Mark and Joe Schoen, themselves. That is broad as hell. That is so fucking broad. As an attorney, I'm like itching to be like, what in the fuck? When Watkins refused to appear at the second deposition, the district court held him in contempt. Watkins now appeals the contempt order on the ground that the discovery order compelling him to divulge all that Ellis Schoen told him or used in his book violates his qualified First Amendment privilege as a journalist. How does the Ninth Circuit rule? Okay, the Ninth Circuit takes this appeal and says, okay, let's hear it. Let's see what we're going to say about all of this. The issues that the court is going to unpack and unravel are kind of twofold, okay? Two legal questions. First, does an investigative book author have standing to invoke the journalist's privilege, okay, that we're thinking of in terms of like a literal like CNN reporter, Fox News report, right? You're thinking of that kind of journalist. Does an investigative author have that same privy to invoke? And number two, does the journalist's privilege protect information and materials obtained without a guarantee of confidentiality? Okay, so essentially, like, does the journalist privilege still apply when an interview is given and that person knew that that shit was going to be published in this book, right? Like, they knew that. There was no, like, we promised to make it secret, keep it secret. You know, like with a lot of informants on the inside to journalists about political, you know, factions and parties. Oftentimes the journalist will be like, I'm not saying my sources, but my sources say, right? That's the type of my sources say, like they know that their name is going to be kept private. In this instance, Ellis's name was not going to be kept private. They weren't going to be like, we heard from a source that his dad said this. Like, no, the dad was like, this is what I fucking said, okay, in the book. That's what he was going to say. With respect to the first issue, what does the court say? Well, the plaintiffs argued, okay, that Watkins, investigative author, has no standing to invoke the journalist privilege because book authors are not members of the institutionalized print or broadcast media, and the Ninth Circuit Court disagrees. Okay, they say no. Good try, all right, but no cheese. Nope, we disagree. He can invoke this privilege, all right? The critical question is not whether they're in broadcast media or a literal reporter. The critical question for whether you can invoke the journalistic privilege is whether a person is gathering news for dissemination to the public. Okay, that's the test. Investigative author, he's putting out a book about this family feud, about this very public, very intense, you know what I mean, like, situation, this murder, okay, high profile. Yeah, that fucking qualifies. The court said the long-standing feud over control of the U-Haul trucking empire and the murder of Ava Schoen are absolutely things that you can disseminate information about, okay, that can allow you to have the journalistic privilege. And so, accordingly, Watkins has standing to invoke the journalist privilege, period. That is issue number one. Now, second issue, whether Watkins is barred from invoking the journalist privilege to shield the information he obtained from Ellis Schoen because the information was not obtained under a promise of confidentiality, meaning keeping that shit secret or keeping the identity of that person secret, okay? And this is where many broad strokes, First Amendment, public policy type things, okay, like foundational principles of our democracy and things like start coming into play, okay? And these quotes from case law that the court cited pretty much sums it the fuck up. The compelled production of a reporter's resource materials can constitute a significant intrusion into the news gathering. Wow. The compelled production of a reporter's resource materials can constitute a significant intrusion into the news gathering and editorial processes. Like the compelled disclosure of confidential sources, it may substantially undercut the public policy favoring the free flow of information that is the foundation for the privilege. In another case, quote, the relationship between the journalist and his source may be confidential or non-confidential for purposes of the privilege, and, quote, unpublished resource material likewise may be protected. The court noted a, quote, lurking and subtle threat to the vitality of a free press if disclosure of non-confidential information becomes routine and casually, if not cavalierly, compelled. The court reasoned, quote, to the extent that compelled disclosure becomes commonplace, it seems likely indeed that internal policies of destruction of materials may be devised and choices as to subject matter made, which could be keyed to avoiding disclosure requests or compliance therewith, rather than to the basic function of providing news and comment. In addition, frequency of subpoenas would not only preempt the otherwise productive time of journalists and other employees, but measurably increase expenditures for legal fees. The compelled disclosure of non-confidential information harms the press's ability to gather information by damaging confidential sources' trust and the press's capacity to keep secrets, and in a broader sense, by converting the press in the public's mind into an investigative arm of prosecutors and the courts. It is their independent status that often enables reporters to gain access without a pledge of confidentiality to meetings or places where a policeman or a politician would not be welcome. If perceived as an adjunct of the police or of the courts, journalists might well be shunned by persons who might otherwise give them information without a promise of confidentiality, barred from meetings which they would otherwise be free to attend and to describe, or even physically harassed, if, for example, observed taking notes or photographs at a public rally. I love when the law makes more sense than half of the fucking general fucking public. God fucking damn. Makes sense, right? Makes fucking sense. If a subpoena is the only bridge and gap between a journalist and the literal 5-0 or like the lawsuit, the whatever, like the courts, then like what is the like there's no difference. Okay, there's no difference. There's just an extra step. A very expensive extra litigious step. Okay? So ultimately the court decided that Watkins had properly invoked the privilege on the facts of this case, and now they just had to determine whether the interest, right, that the plaintiffs need for this.
There, see, when the harassment stops, I start to feel like I have a better life. It's been harassment for days, no matter where I go. Faction warfare, fucking sitting in my own goddamn system, working with my corp, going to Posh Fund, doesn't matter where the fuck I go, flying through high sec, trying to go to faction warfare. I'm fucked with by piece of shit nerds all day. The minute that it stops, I'm like, life is good. Everything's fine. I want to stay in high sec and just not be harassed by these shitheads. If I have to sit here and fucking Pioneers, I will. I don't care. Yeah, what's like the best solo I mean, I don't know, like I could just sit there. Retrievers, because I can produce them. I don't care if they, I guess retrievers would be better. I would have to think about it less. I think these things are faster. I think they're filling it up faster, and it's weird because I remember a whole crate of stuff being worth a lot more than this. I don't know. Where's that music coming from? I need to go to Legrand's Liquors because I haven't bought my allotment of blend yet. Blend. I feel a lot better now that I've had protein, and I believe I am actually very protein deficient for some reason. I don't know why. I should have walked today, but I slept for 4 hours instead. I woke up and I had intended to walk 5 miles today, but I don't feel good. I feel weak and I've got a cut on my heel that needs to heal. Yeah, maybe I should put some dry and cracked skin stuff on this heel cut. Do my heel. Oh, that was too much of it. Oh. Too much of this stuff is like Vaseline, basically. Yeah, I'm just gonna like leave that. Hopefully it helps. It smells good. How much blend do I have? 153, not bad. That's not bad. That's good. I thought it would be lower. I guess I'm feeling like Final Fantasy. Maybe I should play Red Mage. Maybe I should heal on Red Mage, see if somebody takes me. Or I could just solo. Solo Red Mage might be pretty fun. One nice thing about FFXI is it doesn't drain your fucking system that bad. It does, but it doesn't. It's CPU heavy, but it's not GPU heavy, so it doesn't really take away from graphics in other games. Haven't been on Horizon in a while. This is the wrong... No, close this thing. This wasn't it. Changed my resolution since then. Try that. 2,000 players. At least it's free. There we go. Better. I want my BST. I think I want to play my Red Mage, though. How's my inventory? Oh, hey, is that the kitty? Is that my sissy? That hurt my cat. Sissy? Nope. Never mind. I'll go to Bastock, I guess. I love the arrow. It's so good. I'm addicted to it now. I didn't know what it was about Starfield that I love. It's that it'll actually guide you most, if not all the time, pretty much. There's a couple times when it doesn't, but it's overall pretty good about it. Why is my... Did somebody pop my crate? Somebody popped my crate. Mobile tractor. What? Just take some of it. Fucking idiot. Is that you, Sissy? I keep hearing like a sound. I don't think so. Oh, it's my door. There, I gotta move this. I'm sick of humans fucking with me. Oh, the hook. It's too windy for my hook. I'm just gonna close the door. I don't care. I don't know. My hook keeps detaching, which is... on my New Horizons fifth wheel, I have a screen door combo that hooks to a hook that's on the side of the fifth wheel, and the little plastic hook, it broke in half, and I need a new one because there's strong wind where I live. Can you tell me the name of the replacement part? RTV style door holder. Okay. T style door catch. Yeah, can we do this? Typically $15. Can you give me Amazon links, or is that your competitor? Okay, good. So this whole system's been mined out. So this was something I thought I would do today, but I'm not going to. Go back to Jita, I guess. That's not anything I can, that's not my fault or anything I can control. They just, mined up all the sewer. PvP players are so fucking nasty. They're like the people I used to hate on the playground, the bullies. They're such shitheads. That's the personality that's attracted to this game. I'm gonna go loot my mailbox and flag up as RDM. Haven't done. I feel like healing. Haven't healed in a while. I don't know. It's kind of involved. Might just play Red Mage solo. I could go Red Mage and in. It's nothing really stopping me. Okay, going to no, listen out. Control Shift N. I always forget this. Control Shift N. There we go. We're gonna go to a Amazon on a incognito one. I don't want it fucking blasting my fucking information. Okay, I need this. My door latch broken. I need you to yeah, right, with a screwdriver I can probably fix this, yeah. Yeah, it's just some 4 screws. That's something I can do. I need a metal one that's not gonna break. Oh my god, it fucking startled me. The door. See, the door, it keeps slamming. Because I need a new door latch real bad, and I gotta order this. 5 days, 5 days. It's all 5 days. Delivery, really? Why? My door latch broke. Will you buy this, please? Overall, pick us that one there. 6-incher, which is fine by me. Okay, I'm gonna send an email off and have my family buy this because I need it. Trying to get this link. Okay, sorry about that. Had to go arrange the purchase of a door thing so my door doesn't keep slamming shut. No. So where am I? What am I doing? Am I docked? Yes, I'm docked. So this system has been mined out. I don't think it really matters. I could go to neighboring systems, but they're probably mined out too. High-sec mining has become a different whole thing. I will go back to Poshvon. And I'm not going to Jetcam mine. I'm just going to dump the ventures 10,000 at a time. Because they'll fill fast. 10,000 at a time is like 5 mil and it adds up after a while. But no, getting it back from Poshvon is also a problem. I guess I'll go run level 4s. I don't know. Wait, why did you steer me back this way then? Because you have something there. What's there? Why are you steering me here? Pick up the merchandise. Okay, I don't know. Going to go do something else, I guess. Gonna get out of this Pioneer or leave ship. In the morning, I guess I will mine. In the meantime, I will go out there to Dodixie. I think I can actually jump. I don't think there's really anything stopping me. Oh, while I'm here... I want to jump to this clone real quick. And use a Master at Arms. I can't tell if I'm ready yet. Did you jump? Yes, you did. Okay, so... Okay, now leave this jump clone. Or, well, I want to jump to Dodixie. I will log this character until I need her as a dual boxer. I don't think I do out there, so...